All right, let's hope that you guys can hear me. I can hear it in my headset. So I muted myself. I did like a 2 hour video earlier, and I freaking muted myself like at the end, and you can't hear what I'm saying. And so I just went ahead and leave the video and I started over. So like, fingers crossed. I hope I don't get struck here. I'm gonna play a video and through. I might want to do a banner here real quick too, just to, yeah, let me do this banner up real quick. If I can edit it. No, he needs it. He's huge channel. If I can remember how to do this. So I had trouble with this before. Ticker. There we go. So did I spell it right? So this is a Fair Use Act 1976. There might be some trigger warnings. I put that on there. And credit to Dolly Vision because I'm going to play his video he just did. And I got the music on. I got the Fair Use Act policy. I got 0 viewers. So, but anyways, he really summed this case up really well. It's a 20-minute video, and I'm gonna go ahead and play it here. Actually, yeah, let me do this. And I'll play this video.
I've never lost hope. My son is missing. He is not dead.
18 months later, and the mystery remains about what happened to this young man, Sebastian Rodgers. The now 16-year-old seemingly vanished from his Hendersonville home in February of 2024. Patsy Montesino spoke with Sebastian's father, who is keeping the faith his son is still alive.
I want answers. Where's my son?
This father's love keeps his efforts to find his son going. Sebastian Rodgers went missing in February of 2024.
I've got a lot of memories of my son, but I'm not done making memories, and that's the point.
During the first few weeks, there were massive search efforts looking for the autistic teen, but as time passed, they stopped. Now his dad, Seth Rodgers, feels frustrated with law enforcement. He says they're not doing enough.
Nobody's been arrested, and my son hasn't been found.
That's why he's standing outside the Sumner County Sheriff's Office.
So I can look at that window, so I can see them if they come out.
Joined by other supporters.
I am part of Team Sebastian. I just want answers. The community deserves to have answers.
Demanding another agency like the FBI get involved. I reached out to the Sumner County Sheriff with these concerns. In a statement, he said this is an active investigation. He says they continue to follow leads and coordinate with the FBI and TBI. He asked you to share the official Amber Alert poster and call them with any information as quickly as you can.
I think about Sebastian every single day, and it has gone on for way too long now. When we reached the 1-year anniversary, I couldn't believe it. And the fact that we're almost 2 years into it is so sad.
Those outside the office hope that by showing up, they can bring more attention to Sebastian's case and find any information that may lead to him.
I've never lost hope. My son is missing. He is not dead.
Seth says he will stay outside until at least Friday.
I haven't left. Don't plan on leaving. I want my son found.
Reporting in Sumner County.
And tell us what you're doing to find him.
Patsy Montesinos.
Sheriff Craddock, we need answers.
News Channel 5.
What's up, guys? It's
There he
Dolly
is.
back in the
Man.
house again today.
Man, playing,
Today, we are talking little Sebastian Wayne Drake Rodgers. But first, guys, I'm going to need a favor from each and every one of you. I'm going to need you to leave your DNA and your fingerprints all over that like button, just in case you go missing in the hills of Tennessee, and somebody's going to have to come find you. Also, if you're brand new out here and you're watching for the very first time, make sure you sub up, ring the bell for notifications. Help us hit 82,000 subscribers. I can't do it without the help of each and every one of you. Okay, real quick now, some of these people in this case like to take people to court and try to get people arrested, so I need to give my warnings.
Yeah, they do.
Dolly Vision's for entertainment purposes only. We talk news, rumors, gossip, speculation, theories, mixed with a little bit of comedy and a whole lot of chaos. So don't take nothing here as fact. Completely satire. Just my opinion, people. Of course, this is a pre-recorded video, so we're not taking calls, but everyone is innocent to proving guilty in a court of law. And you know what? The biggest one is, do not, and I repeat, do not try to be Dolly at home. Okay, so we're getting really close to 2 years of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rodgers missing. And the sad news is there's not been really very many updates. Has the Hendersonville police given up on Sebastian Rodgers? And that's what we're going to be talking about here today, because there is a gathering coming up on February 26th, which is the day Sebastian Rodgers went missing 2 years ago. Man, time flies by. We've been on this case since day one. Now, there is going to be a protest that goes down at the sheriff's office in Hendersonville, and I guess it's put together by some of Seth Rodgers, the father of Sebastian, and some of his people are going to be out there protesting, wanting answers from Hendersonville Sheriff's Department, you know, because they really haven't given an update in like over a year. And then the last press conference they had for little Sebastian, which pretty sad, they didn't even show his picture. Now, how are you going to have a press conference on a kid and not really show the picture? And, you know, we thought we had a few clues in the beginning. You know, of course, the lights that everybody's been talking about for the last year. And then, of course, the sheriff's department came out and said the lights were a garbage truck and they're not important. But then in the same breath, they said, well, maybe it could become something in the future. But right now, it's nothing. But we know one thing. Kids do not just vanish. So Sebastian Rodgers, just in case you lived in a cave, over almost 2 years ago, February 26th, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rodgers was alone at home with his mother. Now, his stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, was out of town working 3.5 hours away. That night, they said, was a regular night. Katie, the mother of Sebastian Rodgers, was on the phone while she was reading a book, studying, and Sebastian was in his bedroom. She said she heard a thud, but she didn't check on Sebastian. She said she called out to him, and Sebastian said everything was okay, and he loved her and the dogs, but never came out that room. She said she continued her phone call for 3 hours with her husband because he was working out of town while she read this book, and she started to fall asleep with him on the phone. So Chris Proudfoot told her, hey, go ahead, wrap it up, call it a night, go to bed. She woke up the following morning, and Sebastian Rodgers was gone without a trace. Now, she instantly started to panic, according to her, because his child was gone. So basically, all the doors were locked. So if Sebastian did go out the doors, that he had locked it behind him. Now, here's the thing. The neighbor across the street has a camera that points directly at the side of Sebastian Rodgers' home. So it actually gets the front door and the garage. And on that camera, there was no Sebastian Rodgers leaving that house that night. Also, it appeared that the only way he could have got out was go out through the back door. Now, the back door, when they checked it, was locked. So Katie freaked out instantly, called Chris and told her Sebastian was missing. Then she goes out into the garage, gets in her car, drives around. She allegedly says she drives to the school thinking Sebastian may have walked. But it's awful early for Sebastian to have went to school. Now, Sebastian, in the beginning, they said he wasn't very functional. They kind of made it sound like he was really slow. But come to find out, over time, he was autistic, but he was highly functional. He would go get himself on the bus. He would get himself dressed. He would get off the bus. He would come in and nobody would be home because Katie and Chris were at work. So he would basically come in, take care of himself. And, you know, they said the kid had no access to the internet at Chris and Katie's, but at his father's, he did have a little bit of access to the internet. And at first they said, well, he wasn't talking to anybody. He had no way to talk to anybody. But just recently came out that Seth Rodgers was on the game Roblox and found out that you can talk to people on the game. Now, this game itself has been known to have some creepy people on this game. Now, is this a case where somebody got Sebastian to meet him up outside the house? I gave him a time and said, hey, come out and meet me. And they grabbed Sebastian and took off. But like I said, in 2 years, there hasn't been one solid sighting of Sebastian. And there were some oddities to everything that was going on. The mother didn't instantly dial 911. She called Chris, her husband, and Chris Proudfoot, the stepfather, he calls the sheriff's office. Okay, but at this time, Katie don't call the biological father and let the father know, hey, your son's missing. How did she know that Seth didn't come by that morning and possibly pick him up? It seems like the first person you would have called was the other parent to say, hey, did you pick up Sebastian for some reason? But she didn't do that, which I found odd. Now, Chris Proudfoot is the one that called the sheriff's office. Most people like me, I don't know the number to my local sheriff's office. If something happens that's an emergency, I pretty much just call 911, okay? But they just happen to know the number to the sheriff's office, which I don't believe traces the call. Or if it did trace the call, it could only trace it to Chris because he called it and alleged had Katie on three-way. Now, we don't know where Katie went that morning technically, other than what Katie has told us. There's no witnesses that seen Katie at the school or around the school or anywhere else. Now, there is some video evidence that she did leave the house for allegedly 30, 45 minutes, but there's nowhere technically to tell where she was at. Like I said, even if they traced the call, they could only trace it back to Chris's phone because she was on three-way. Now, the police were on their way to the house, and Chris had to tell Katie, hey, go to the house. The police are on the way. Now, if she was on three-way, like they alleged she was, wouldn't she already know the police is on their way to the house and to go back to the house? One thing we know for certain, kids just don't vanish. So when Sebastian goes missing, the police put out a major manhunt. They're searching everywhere. They got hundreds of people out there, drones, helicopters, fixed-wing planes, and this kid is nowhere to be found. Not a footprint, not a single shred of evidence. Now, there was some stuff with the dogs and the dog handlers and the tracking dogs. People allege that the dogs tracked to the water because they had some 911 calls where one of the officers said, yeah, my dog's heading towards this retention pond, and one headed to the construction site. But what people don't understand is the construction site and the retention pond are in two separate directions. So unless this kid split in half, I doubt he went to two different locations, okay? And then the head detective came out and said the dogs hit on a false scent and they were not tracking Sebastian. So according to the lead detective in the Sebastian Rodgers case, there was no dog scent of this child. And if you think this child allegedly and went missing barefoot, you would think it'd be easier for a dog to pick up his trail. But that never happened. And Sebastian, from that point, just vanished. Did he leave that house on foot? And then, you know, they searched for about a week straight, searching for Sebastian Rodgers. His favorite song was Eye of the Tiger, and they were blasting Eye of the Tiger into the woods, hoping that Sebastian would hear it and come out. That never happened. With all the searchers and everything that went on, there was no signs of Sebastian, what he would have had on, or anything. And this boy left in almost freezing cold temperatures with no jacket and no shoes. Okay, so the chances of this child making it on his own, very slim, I would think. Okay, so, and then we seen really odd behavior from the parents. Instead of the parents putting together search groups, and I'm talking about the mother, Katie, and the stepdad, Chris, they basically leave town. His grandparents also leave town and take a trip to Alaska. So you would think that your parents would stick around just in case you showed up at the house. Or your grandparents may cancel the trip to Alaska because their step grandchild is missing. Now, we also heard from the father that the child wasn't being treated the best at home, that he was being talked to like a dog and basically locked in his room most of the time. And his family, all three of them, the mother, the stepdad, and the biological father, were all looking for a home to put Sebastian Rodgers in. Now, that could give you motive to run away right there. If you was going to put me in a home and throw away the key, I might want to run away also. But like I said, at the age of 15, barefoot, no jacket, and this kid was highly functional. He knew to put his shoes on. His father said he stepped in an anthill, got bit by fire ants, and he was always would wear his shoes. So he wouldn't go outside barefooted because he learned this lesson by stepping on these fire ants. So if the kid was taking care of himself, getting himself dressed, taking himself to the bus stop, why, when he runs away, would he not put on a jacket and not put on his shoes? Makes no sense, whatever. So the internet's been going crazy. A lot of people believe that the parents are involved in the disappearance of this child. Now, like I said, there's no evidence of that, just odd behavior like them leaving, them taking off, and just like his grandparents. So there was nobody there for Sebastian. And, you know, they gave a lot of interviews in the beginning saying how much they missed him and they wanted him home. But like I said, we found out they were really trying to put this child in a home. So did they really want him back? You would think that the mother would be out searching for her child. Publicly, she's did very, very little of that. And I think that is what's leading so many people to speculate that she may have something to do with the disappearance of her child. You know, statistically, the last person you see you is usually the person that's responsible. Now, like I said, have the police given up on this? You know, they came out and said that we vetted the parents. But they didn't come out and say we cleared the parents. They just said, you know, the parents have been cooperating. They allegedly gave lie detector tests, but I've never believed these lie detector tests to be accurate. So are they telling the truth? And this boy actually ran away and he's somewhere out there and nobody just didn't see him? But the father wants answers from the Hendersonville Sheriff's Department and the police. And like I said, February 26th in Hendersonville, Tennessee, they're going to be doing a gathering to protest the police, to put pressure on them to release information or to continue the search for Sebastian Rodgers. Now, after the first search, they took a couple weeks and didn't search. And then they put together one more large-scale search. And I mean really large, almost more people than they had the very first search, and they searched for another week. Nothing. So they said they searched a good 5-mile radius around that property, and that child is nowhere to be found. So was Sebastian Rodgers a runaway? Or did somebody take Sebastian up out the house? That is the question. But I encourage each and every one of you, if you're in the Hendersonville area, February 26th, go out there, join the protest. I don't care if you don't agree with the parents or not, or if you like Seth Rodgers or you don't. This is about Sebastian Rodgers and nobody else. So if you're in that area, go out, support this young man. I do believe there needs to be some pressure on these police to do either an update, even if it's to tell us, hey, we ain't got nothing, but we're still working on it. Is it an active case, or is this done turned into a cold case? Usually it's 3 years before it turns into a cold case, but we're at the 2-year mark and haven't had an update. And like I said, over a year. Now, you guys tell me what you think in the comment box down below. Tell me. Did he run away? Do the parents have something to do with it? Did somebody off of Roblox kidnap this child? Now, look, if you enjoyed this video, there is a super thanks button that you can hit.
It's a super thanks
to show your appreciation and support the channel.
Dollar.
Also, memberships.
Gotta eat.
If you haven't joined the channel, make sure you join up. Become a member of the Turtle Gang, the best gang on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, yeah. And don't forget, we have some awesome merch.
He's got merch, too. So, yeah. Be a member. Buy his merch. He's got soap. He's a good dude. I like him. I enjoy him. I watch him. I was a member before. I may do it again. But don't let that discourage you. He does a thing called Turtle Island too. It's really cool. Check him out. Yeah, he did a real good job. Really, breaking down the case, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. Play his, because he just did it today earlier, and he's kind of been from the case. He's been involved in this case for beginning. He's even had, I believe, Seth up on his show. He has an opinion. It's that he believes that the parents, the Katie, the proud feet are, has something to do with it. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's coming up almost on 2 years, actually a month away from the 2-year mark. So, yeah, he's right. Go out there if you're in that area. Peaceful protest. Remember, peaceful. Don't get yourself arrested. But yeah, Sebastian, he's still missing. 2 years now. He'll be 18 this year, December 7th, and hopefully, maybe the parents just have him hid and he'll show up when he's 18 and he's all right. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. I read some stuff on that as far as like the charges and everything. And basically like worst case, if in the state of Tennessee, if they hit him and and didn't tell the other parents, like if there's joint custody or full custody or something, and he was under some sort of distress, emotional or physical, there's my cat in the background. And they hit him and they returned him and they said voluntarily, it could be as low as a class A misdemeanor, which is like, what I read is like kind of like a first offense DUI or assault charge, but it can also, go up to a class, I think E or C felony, and those carry all the way up to 15 years in prison. So, I really need clarity on that. I think it's just kind of, the lowest case, class A misdemeanor, all the way up to like a C or E felony, which could be 15 years in prison. But then, if I don't know, like if that includes like taking him, it didn't say anything about that. Didn't say anything about taking him out of state, because I know when you take a minor out of state, that becomes really big. And the falsifying police reports, I don't know like what all, if that's what they did, how all the charges and stuff on that. That seems to be the theory. A lot of people, and especially on the Seth's side, I think Seth believes that they have him hid somewhere. And I think he might be trying to put pressure on him, because he wants his kid, he wants his son back, and he doesn't know. And but like for me, like, why wouldn't they just tell him? Why would they put him through that? Maybe they felt like they had to. I don't know. But I kind of hope that's what it is, because that means his possibility is still alive. The other theory would be either walked off, and or somebody took him, and that there's a lot of bad things that could result of that. I don't want to get into, but yeah, um, it is. It's one of those cases. I even remember the stepfather saying something like, this will be a case that will be studied for years to come. Um, you know, uh, or he said the police said that. So, that could be it. I don't remember any case where like the parents hid the kid and hid one of their kids and from another parent, and then he returned, and then you know everything was all right. Um, I don't ever, I could be wrong. I'm sure it's probably happened before. I heard like custody kidnapping, but I read the thing before. They called it something else, but I think it's basically custody kidnapping. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off there. It's just a short interview or an interview, short. I don't know what you call it, live, but yeah, just keep Sebastian in mind and prayers, and hope that this ends up being something like that where he's returned safely.